For most people, the majority of Madrid's tourist sites are close enough to be visited on foot. This 7-kilometre stroll takes about 3 hours, or even several days depending on the number and length of diversions savoured along the way. It starts at the Gran Via metro station, where Madrid's first ever McDonald's has a surprisingly ornate interior. From there walk downhill along the Gran Via to the Plaza de Cibeles, a busy intersection which becomes a pedestrianised area of celebration when the Real Madrid football team wins a major trophy. The impressively opulent building on the far side of the fountain is merely a post office. Continue towards the Puerta de Alcalá, formerly part of the city wall, and then into the Calle de Serrano, one of Madrid's foremost fashion centres. Lined with exclusive international outlets, where the more affluent are encouraged to enter, while less wealthy fashionistas content themselves in the knowledge that window shopping is permitted. Along this fashion parade, the National Archaeological Museum seems out of place, but suffice to say it was there first, and definitely worth a visit by anybody interested in Spanish history. Enter the Gardens of Discovery, passing the modern sculptures and Spanish flag, reputedly the largest flown in Spain, towards the Plaza de Colón, before turning past the National Library into the tree-lined avenue, maybe pausing for refreshment at the Art Nouveau Pavilion de Espejo, or the legendary Gran Café de Gijón. At the Plaza de Cibeles once again, continue past the still impressively opulent post office into the Paseo del Prado, and past the Naval Museum towards Spain's memorial to those who've lost their lives while serving the country. Before taking the road behind the memorial, cross the Paseo del Prado past the Neptune Fountain, where fans of Atletico Madrid celebrate major trophies, but not often, to the Thyssen-Bornemisza Art Museum, which houses one of the foremost private collections in the world, now partly owned by the Spanish state. Returning to the road behind the memorial and with the Stock Exchange building to the left, head up towards the Parque de Buen Retiro, one of Madrid's major parks. The mausoleum of King Alfonso XIII overlooks the popular boating lake, while a little further into the park exhibitions are held at both the aptly named Palacio de Exposiciones and the Palacio Cristal. Especially at weekends, street performers offer entertainment. Returning to the entrance of the park, turn left and then first right towards the Prado Museum, passing some fine buildings on the way. The Prado is one of the very best art galleries in the world. The main entrance is at the end about 50 metres from the church, and on certain days entry is free. At the opposite end of the museum, beyond the statue of Murillo, the entrance to the Royal Botanical Gardens beckons. From here cross the Paseo del Prado once again in the direction of the excellent Reina Sofia National Art Museum, which is situated close to Atocha, Madrid's main railway station. It houses mostly Impressionist and Expressionist works, including a number of superb examples by Salvador Dali, and the world-famous Guernica by Pablo Picasso. Next return along the Paseo del Prado, taking a left into the Calle de las Huertas, which leads to a pleasantly tranquil locality, offering the opportunity to relax at the many cafes and restaurants. Continue along the incline past the brick-built Convento de las Trinitarias, original resting place of famous author Miguel de Cervantes, before detouring right into the Calle Leon and then second right to visit the house of Lope de Vega, another famous writer. Return to the Calle de las Huertas again, before turning into the Calle del Príncipe, past the Plaza de Santa Ana, especially popular during the hot summer evenings and where the ambience is extremely agreeable, then at the end go left towards the Puerta del Sol. Sol is an important transport hub for both the metro and commuter network rail systems. It's also the home of Kilometre Zero, the point from where all roads radiating from Madrid are measured. El Corte Inglés, Spain's most important and prestigious department store chain, has a large presence nearby. There's also a regal statue of King Charles III on horseback, and another, favoured by the photogenic, depicts a bear and madron tree, the heraldic symbol of Madrid. Leave the Puerta del Sol along the Calle de Arenal towards the Iglesia de San Ginés de Arles, which houses paintings by El Greco and Alonso Cano. Many consider a short detour ride to visit the Convento de las Descalzas Reales, now primarily a museum with very few nuns and a wealth of historic artifacts, to be worthwhile. We turn past the Iglesia de San Ginés de Ares, crossing the Calle de Arenal and then the Calle Mayor before entering the Plaza Mayor, arguably one of the finest in the world. The Tourist Information Office, where most of the staff are extremely knowledgeable and helpful, is a good place to go for local guided tours. We turn to the Calle Mayor through the exit in the corner behind the statue of King Felipe III. On the left, the Mercado de San Miguel, which sells fruit, vegetables, fresh tapas and drinks, is very popular with tourists. A short distance along the Calle Mayor, the Plaza de la Vila, formerly Madrid's main square, will be of interest to architectural buffs who recognise the differing styles introduced as the Plaza became what it is today. Leaving by the Calle del Cordon, the narrow lane in the corner by the statue, cross the road and descend the steps to the Calle de Segovia. Opposite and to the right is the 14th century Iglesia de San Pedro de Viejo. The La Latina neighbourhood at the top of the steep road behind the church is home to a multitude of bars and restaurants which appeal especially to the more bohemian. Next it's downhill past the Iglesia de San Andres to the Basilica de San Francisco el Grande, where it says St. Francis of Assisi himself built the chapel. From here turn right before sloping off left along Travessia Vestillas for more popular bars and panoramic views across to Casa de Campo. Back at the main road, traverse the narrow gorge where transparent screens were installed after the bridge became a fatal attraction to the suicidal. Continue past Madrid's cathedral, completed as recently as 1993, to the Royal Palace, which while somewhat smaller than intended when construction commenced, is extensive. Find the public entrance across the parade ground from the cathedral. Open most days, state ceremonies and foreign dignitaries permitting, like the Prado, entry is sometimes free. The well-presented public areas are impressive. Opposite, the Plaza de Oriente is home to some of the statues due to be incorporated into the Royal Palace, but never used. And beyond, the Royal Theatre, restored in the late 20th century, is now a major opera house. Continuing past the long facade of the Royal Palace, follow the road until it reaches the popular Plaza de España, only a couple of metro stops from the Gran Via where we started. Finally, to experience something a little different, just beyond the Plaza de España and on the opposite side of the road, the Egyptian Temple of Dibod, due to be inundated after the construction of the Aswan Dam, was relocated to Madrid. If when next in Madrid you should wish to refer to this video, it's available with subtitles on YouTube channel Fly and Visit.